what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Start here because I thought it was interesting. We talked to Brian Kelly on our show yesterday. And, Jake, I just asked the position group that he felt confident in, or the position group that he felt good about throughout the offseason. I don't know if he maybe thought I was angling defensive line. I actually, in my mind, was not. But he went out of his way to be like, look, I know everybody thinks the interior D-line sucks, but, like, we like what we have. We have a mixture of guys that we can make work. And here's Kelly in the main room. This is Kelly MR1, guys, talking about he thinks they brought this defense to a championship level.
So the challenge this year for us going into the offseason was to make the kind of strides to bring our defense up to the standard necessary to play for a championship. And we feel like we've done that. Obviously, we've got a little bit more work to do with our preseason, and our opener will certainly test us when we open up against USC.
Opening up against USC, Jake, we didn't get to really discuss this because it was such a fast-moving final hour yesterday. What did you think about his answer when I was kind of questioning him on some of the game one struggles, where basically he was like, "Look, year one, we didn't know any of the players basically still."
Yeah, didn't know the quarterback. Remember he said that?
Yeah, he's like, "We even know the quarterback." Like year two, I can't remember. Like, what was your reaction? Do you think this year will be different?
I forget what his year two answer was, but there was, there was something. He mentioned the defense.
It wasn't an excuse, but it was just basically kind of like things are different now. Year three, all the processes are in place. I felt like he was saying he was basically saying it was maybe not unavoidable, but that it wasn't like a reflection maybe of their like preparation or camp or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like he runs from any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, and he didn't yesterday. He kind of laid out, hey, here's kind of what happened, and like that's on them to get that thing figured out. But we all know, like, you're graded the hardest off year number 3, and so I think he understands that. I think he understands that his people have been in that building now for 3 years. His signage, his verbiage, all of that's been in that building, and you've got enough talent, right? And he kind of mentioned it there in that soundbite, like. Not a finished product, but you've got enough talent where you've got to show up better, certainly on that side of the ball. You've been great offensively. You scored some points. You've done a lot of great things, but you have to be better on that side of the football. And I think he's putting it out there like, hey, this year you're going to see a more consistent, polished type product.
And let's go ahead and jump over to Harold Perkins Jr. As yesterday Brian Kelly told us that, like, look, this is great for Perks so that we all get to know him, right? Because we know him as a player, but we haven't really had him in these media scenarios too much. Let's just start with Perk 1 here. This is Harold Perkins and how he feels about moving into the inside.
I feel good about it. I'm confident in my coaches and my teammates to put me in the right position to be successful and make plays. So, yeah, I'm confident. I love to move.
And, well, if the move's going to work, I talked about this a ton yesterday with people, right? Because that's all anybody wants to ask about is Harold Perkins moved inside. And I keep having to go back to the Damone Clark-Blake Baker relationship. Here's Perkins 3 on what Blake Baker brings to this LSU team.
A loving working environment. Coach Baker, a joy to have around the building. He's the DC, but, obviously he's my coach. He's my position coach. So, my first time meeting him, he came out to practice with some cleats on, and it made me laugh a little bit because, they just speak to the testament of what he is. He coming out here, he wants you to work, but he's putting in the work too. He's not just out here just telling us what to do. He's showing us how to do it. So that's one thing that I love about him.
So I got to tell you this, T. So we had Perk upstairs for a long time. I don't know how it happened. He got done early, so we had him on air for like 12 to 15 minutes, and then he stayed after, and him and I were just talking a little football. But on air, I was talking about him and Blake Baker and how much they interact. He's like, yeah, we meet every morning. I'm like, oh, great. Like, tell us about meeting every morning. He's like, yeah, I get mad at him when he doesn't come. I was like, oh, yeah, like what? he gave our boy Jordy a shout out. He said the other day Blake missed our meeting because he went on the Jordy Collada show. He's like, he got mad at Blake for going to do Jordy's show, so it was kind of funny. But that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Like that a player of his caliber, somebody that we've talked about, All-Americans, like, hey, Coach, hold up now. Like, you're going to miss our meeting. And so, like, he's locked in. Him and Blake having those meetings, that gives me a lot of faith that he can make that change for Harold to learn, hey, this is the position that you're going to play. This is who you're going to be, and really define that role for him. Because as a player, if I come to the building, like, I can adapt, but I kind of want to know what my identity is. And I don't feel like Perk was allowed that yet last year.
No, and, I mean, you talk about the loving environment and everything, and it's impossible for me, whether you want to agree with this or not, it's impossible for me not to connect the dots that it's all kind of a commentary on what a toxic environment Matt House had created last year. And that felt pretty obvious outside looking in terms of how the players felt about him, especially by the end. And I think how the players feel about Baker at this point, well, it could not be more different. Let's do one more from Perk before we move over to Nuss. Here, this is going to be Perk 4, and this is kind of him being asked, look, what is, and this is something that we've toyed with, what is the measure of success for Harold Perkins, given that last year he had statistically a year that, like, it was a better year than Jared Ivey, who was here for Ole Miss. And everybody's like, oh, he's great, et cetera. But, like, he had better numbers, Perk did, right? So it's like, so how does Harold Perkins Jr. measure success?
Just knowing that everything not going to be perfect, you know what I'm saying? Everything not going to pan out and play out the way that you want it to. And just be ready for adversity, you know what I'm saying? And be ready to deal with it and not running from it. I'll say that.
Look, I actually kind of love that answer, right? Doesn't get with anything statistical. Team success is obvious, right? To immediately go into basically being able to, like, survive adversity and find a way through it. I think that's a very shrewd answer from Harold Perkins Jr. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.